Hello all and welcome back to Alex Makes. Today we're going to be making a recipe from Bon Appetit for their best banana bread. So to start out, I'm going to go ahead and line the bottom of my 9x5 loaf pan with parchment paper. The recipe calls for the parchment paper to overhang the long sides of the loaf pan for easy extraction once your bread has been baked. So I'm going to use a pencil to mark some guidelines to cut off the excess parchment paper. And then I'm going to check to see if it fits in my loaf pan. And it fits perfectly, so next I'm going to grab some vegetable oil and we're going to grease this puppy up. A little bit goes a long way here, and you're going to want to make sure you get all the sides and the bottom of that pan very well, and you also want to spread it onto the parchment paper itself on both sides. Now that our pan has been thoroughly greased, we're going to set that aside and we're going to start working on our batter. So today we'll need all-purpose flour, brown sugar, baking soda, sour cream, a half a stick of butter at room temperature, and 2 eggs also at room temperature. 4 large ripe bananas. The recipe also includes 2 optional ingredients of chopped walnuts and semi-sweet chocolate. Sift together our all-purpose flour and baking soda, and not included in the ingredients list earlier is kosher salt. So we're going to need a 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. So with my measuring cup, I'm going to fluff up my flour and level off 1 cup, and I'll do this for the remaining 1/2 cup as well. Next, I'll need 1 1/4 teaspoons of baking soda, also leveled off. Finally, I'm going to add 3/4 of a teaspoon of kosher salt. Now don't make my mistake and use a sifter that is too fine, and you'll see why in just a few moments. All of my kosher salt was too thick for that sifter, so I'm going to add that back and set it aside. Next, I'm going to cream together my 1/4 cup or half stick of softened unsalted butter along with 1 cup of tightly packed brown sugar, and this has to beat together for at least 4 minutes. You really don't want to skip this step because there's not much leavening in this bread recipe, so this is where the lift comes from, beating all of this air into the sugar and butter mixture. So at this point, I realized something didn't look right, so I consulted the recipe and realized that I'm also supposed to add the 1/3 cup of sour cream at this point and then cream it together. So I set my kitchen timer for 4 minutes and continued to beat together my sugar, butter, and sour cream mixture. About 2 minutes in, I decided to scrape down the sides with a rubber spatula to make sure I'm incorporating all of my ingredients in the bowl. Now 4 minutes can be a really long time, but buckle down because the fruits of your labor will be worth it in the end. Now that 4 minutes have elapsed, your mixture should be light and pale in color, and you're going to incorporate each of your eggs one at a time. Oh yeah. Next, in a separate mixing bowl, we're going to mash together our 4 large ripe bananas. Once your bananas are mashed, we're going to go ahead and add that to our cream, butter, and sugar mixture and continue to beat that together until well incorporated. Next, I'm going to add in my dry ingredients, and I'm only going to mix this until it is just combined. this is optional, I'm going to add in half a cup of walnuts roughly chopped, as well as 1 bar of semi-sweet baker's chocolate. Using a spatula, I'm going to gently fold in my walnuts and chocolate, and you don't want to overmix this batter. Overmixing can cause too much gluten production, which could make our banana bread tough and chewy. So now that all our walnuts and chocolate have been incorporated, I'm going to go ahead and grab our loaf pan and make sure that oil is still nice and spread out and pour this in. I'm going to make sure to use my spatula to scrape down the sides of the bowl because we don't waste here on Alex Makes. Once all your batter is in your loaf pan and you've returned from shamelessly licking that spatula, it's time for this to go into a preheated 350-degree oven for 60 to 65 minutes. Be sure to check for doneness using either a toothpick or a cake tester. Inserted in the center of your loaf, it should come out clean and crumb-free. Now this is the hardest part of this recipe. You have to let this cool in the pan for at least an hour. After an hour has elapsed, we can finally remove our banana bread from the loaf pan. Now at this point in the recipe, it literally says that you can either let this cool completely, or if you can't resist, slice into it now and enjoy. Per tradition, the first slice is always going to be a bit ugly, but that's okay, because that's the piece that you get to enjoy before everybody else digs in. Now this really turned out amazing. In fact, I had to step away from the camera for a moment so that I could enjoy this in private. After my moment of indulgence, I'm going to go ahead and cut a couple more slices. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and ring the bell icon so you can be notified the next time I upload. And as always, buen provecho, bon appetit, itadakimasu, however you say it. Enjoy, and thanks for watching.